If I woke up tomorrow with zero assets, no connections, and exactly $1,000 to my name, the absolute last thing I would do is put it into the stock market. I know that goes against every piece of traditional financial advice you've ever heard. But there is a very specific reason why putting your first grand into an index fund practically guarantees you will stay in the middle class forever. It has to do with a mathematical trap, let's call it the invisible ceiling. This trap is quietly draining the ambition of millions of new investors right now, and unless you know how to bypass it, your $1,000 will be dead money. I'll explain exactly what this ceiling is in a moment, and how to shatter it. But first, we need to establish reality. The 15% of people who actually build wealth don't play the same game as everyone else. We aren't looking for safe, slow growth right now. We are looking for asymmetric returns. We need that $1,000 to become $10,000, and we need it to happen fast. So, what is that invisible ceiling? It's the brutal reality of percentage yields. If you put $1,000 into the S&P 500 and get an amazing, market-beating 10% return in a year, congratulations. You made $100. Over 365 days, that is about 27 cents a day. You can't buy a cup of coffee with your daily profits, let alone financial freedom. The stock market is for preserving wealth and multiplying large amounts of capital. It is terrible for creating your initial wealth. So, if traditional investing is out, where does the money go? There is an alternative asset class that routinely yields a 1,000% return on investment within a few months. But to access it, you have to split your $1,000 into two very specific, unequal piles. If you get this split wrong, the whole system collapses. The split is the 80-20 rule of initial capital. $800 goes directly into the engine, and $200 goes into the infrastructure. The engine is you. Specifically, $800 is going toward acquiring what I call an alpha skill. Not a college degree, not a broad certificate. A hyper-specific, high-income skill that the marketplace is currently desperate for. You might be thinking, should I learn to code? Should I become a copywriter? No. In the age of AI, those traditional entry-level skills are being outsourced to machines. If you spend your $800 learning basic graphic design today, you are throwing it in the garbage. There is one specific skill category that AI actually makes more valuable, not less. And it's the only thing I would spend my $800 on. I'll reveal what that exact skill is shortly. But how do you actually spend $800 on a skill? You don't buy a $1,000 guru course. You buy the exact books written by industry titans, you pay for premium community access like private Discord servers where top-tier operators hang out, and you use the rest to directly hire a coach on a platform like Clarity.fm for 1 hour of laser-focused consultation. You buy the map from someone who has already climbed the mountain. So what is that bulletproof alpha skill? It's digital leverage architecture. This means learning how to string together AI tools, automated systems, and content generation to build digital assets that work 24/7. While everyone else is learning how to write a prompt, you are using your $800 to learn how to build entire automated media channels, sales funnels, and digital products. You become the architect, not the laborer. Okay, so your brain is now equipped with the architect's blueprint. But a blueprint is useless without a construction site. That brings us to the remaining $200, the infrastructure. Most beginners blow this $200 on completely the wrong software. They buy expensive editing tools or fancy website builders and run out of cash in month 2. There is a precise, tech stack you can buy for under $200 that gives you the operating power of a media company. Missing just one of these 3 tools will paralyze your progress. That $200 infrastructure budget goes entirely to leverage. $1.20 goes to a domain name and a professional email address, because nobody takes a business proposition seriously from a Gmail account. $100 goes to a mid-tier subscription of an AI audio or video generation tool. This gives you the ability to produce volume without burning out. $3.80 goes into cheap, targeted cloud hosting to house your assets. You now have a fully operational digital storefront with zero physical overhead. So, you have the skill, and you have the infrastructure. You are officially dangerous. But having the tools doesn't bring in cash. There is a specific psychological trigger you must pull to get your first paying client or your first wave of monetized traffic. It involves doing something completely counterintuitive, working for free, but with a hidden contract. Let me explain exactly how this Trojan horse method turns $0 into your next $5,000. So, how do you use the Trojan horse method to turn your new skills into actual cash? You do not send out 100 generic resumes. You do not go on Fiverr and compete with people charging $5 an hour. Instead, you target a high-ticket business owner and you do the work for them before they ever ask. If you learned how to build automated sales funnels, you find a creator with a terrible funnel. You spend 2 hours building a superior version using your tech stack. Then, you hand it to them for free. You provide the value first. But here is the brutal truth: business owners are busy. 90% of them will never even open your email. You will be completely ghosted. Unless, that is, you use a very specific psychological trigger in your subject line. There is a 9-word sentence that bypasses a business owner's spam filter and forces an 80% open rate. I'll tell you exactly what those 9 words are. That 9-word subject line is, "I fixed problem in your asset video walkthrough inside." Why does this work? Loss aversion. If you tell a business owner they are actively losing money and you have a personalized video showing the fix, they cannot ignore it. This is how you land your first $5,000 retainer contract without a single interview. Now, let's fast forward. You just got a wire transfer for $5,000. You multiplied your initial $1,000 by 5. But this exact moment is where 99% of beginners commit financial suicide. They fall into the scale trap. Let me show you how to avoid this. The scale trap happens when new money makes you arrogant. To join the top 15%, you must deploy the rule of thirds. Asterisk 1/3 for taxes. Asterisk 1/3 for your emergency buffer, sleep insurance. Asterisk only the final third, roughly $1,600, is injected back into the business. But where exactly does that $1,600 go? You must spend it to buy back your time. But you cannot just hire a random virtual assistant. You need to hire what I call a system clone. You don't hire someone for their intelligence, you hire them for their ability to follow a flawless system. You record your screen doing the exact daily tasks that make money. You turn your brain into a standard operating procedure, SOP. Suddenly, the system that took 8 hours now takes 30 minutes of management. But here is the terrifying part: active businesses can die overnight. To make this wealth permanent, you have to transition to asset accumulation. There is a secret backdoor to buying cash-flowing digital assets that nobody talks about. You don't need $1 million for real estate. You look for distressed digital real estate, abandoned newsletters or dormant YouTube channels created by people who couldn't market them. You buy them for pennies, plug them into your automated systems, and they instantly start cash flowing. How do you know what a digital asset is worth? There is a ruthless, 3-step due diligence checklist you must run every single time. Run the 3-step audit. 1. Engagement pulse, ratio of comments to views, must be greater than 5%. 2. Source verification, only buy assets with organic, sticky traffic. 3. Monetization gap, find attention with no product. Once you've acquired it, you apply the multiplier. But first, you have to avoid a mental virus called the sunk cost fallacy that kills growth. In digital business, be a merciless surgeon. If an asset isn't responding within 30 days, you don't try harder. You cut it, sell the data, and move capital to the winner. Now your bank account is healthy. This is the danger zone. To become truly free, you need the 20% freedom tax. It involves an investment invisible to the IRS. 20% of every dollar goes into network equity. You buy your way into rooms with people 10 levels ahead of you. One 10-minute conversation with a person who has made $100 million can save you 10 years of trial and error. But there is a golden question, only 5 words long: that almost forces a successful person to want to help you. The 5-word question is, what is your biggest bottleneck? This turns you into a fixer rather than a taker. This turns a mentor into a partner. You now have $100,000 in liquid capital. Now, and only now, do we return to the stock market. But we are using a strategy called yield farming for the wealthy. The end game is capital preservation. Move into private equity or dividend growth stocks. You are looking for 7 to 8% returns that pay out monthly. At this point, you have reached escape velocity. But wait. There is one final psychological trap called the hedonic treadmill. To stay wealthy, you must separate your standard of living from your cost of living. Keep your expenses low even when your income explodes. This gap is your true freedom. What happens when the market shifts? Every 10 years, an alpha skill becomes obsolete. You need anti-fragility. Don't just have one alpha skill, have a skill stack. Combine high-tech skills with Lindy effect skills, negotiation, psychology, that never go out of style. Asterisk 90% of people will close this video and do nothing. There is a 5-second psychological kill switch to force yourself into action. Asterisk the kill switch is the rule of immediate imperfection. Don't wait for the perfect plan. Pick an alpha skill today and buy a $20 book on it. Read one chapter and execute one task. Use the Zeigarnik effect to force your brain to finish what you started. What if you pick the wrong skill? There is a blacklist of 3 industries that are actually value traps. Avoid. 1. Low-level AI content arbitrage. 2. Dropshipping without branding. 3. Generalist agency work. You now have the map. But a map is useless if you don't know how to read the hidden signs. In my next video, I'm showing you the 5 early warning signals that a market is about to explode. Click here to see the early warning video. Your 30 minutes are up. Now go build.